What if I told you that beginner's luck isn't luck, but rather it's a state that you can consciously enter? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into today. But before I do that, let's go into the infamous split screen. So, the one problem that I have with people saying beginner's luck is to believe it's just luck. It's just seeing it at a shallow level, because for starters, it's such a widely held phenomenon that people see. You can honestly predict that someone is going to have beginner's luck. See, if it was luck, you wouldn't be able to predict it. You wouldn't be able to say that, this is probably going to happen, and name exactly what is going to happen. However, since beginner's luck is a state, and it's a state that you can re-enter and use it to your advantage to make things that don't make sense for you, I figured that I'll teach it to you guys today and break down everything. So, the first thing that you need to ask is luck even a thing? Said simply, I don't believe in luck. However, the reason being is because we live in a world of cause and effect. For something to happen, there must have been a cause. See, in the Kabbalion it says that every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for a law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. See, everything happens for a reason. Quite literally everything. There is always a reason. And for there to be a reason, you don't have to know what the reason is. You don't have to be in control of the reason. And even things like coincidences that people can't explain. I promise you, if you look at any situation with enough scrutiny, you are going to find a reason. It may be, let's say two people meet at exactly the same bus stop. Or that story where it's like, I met the love of my life, and we met at the same coffee shop at the exact same time. If you break down the situation, the reason why you went to that coffee shop at that time is because you forgot to put your shoes on. Something stupid like that. Or whatever the reason may be. You woke up 10 seconds later, so now the traffic light was red. So it meant that you were going to be delayed a minute more than you normally would. And that's why you met at that exact same time. Yes, could be a synchronicity. Yes, it could be something that was willed to happen. But there still are reasons behind it, and I want you to understand that when we go into beginner's luck, that behind everything there is a reason to it. Like I said, you don't have to know the reason for there to be a reason. You don't have to be in control of the reason for there to be a reason. There just has to be a reason. And I guess that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, that things can happen for a reason, but you may not be in control of it. You can get caught in a tsunami and it's not your fault, but the cause of that tsunami was tectonic plates moving, flipping 100 meters away or 100 kilometers away in the water, and it's causing a ripple in the water. Then that causes the tsunami. But the point being is that luck isn't real. When people talk about luck, they just don't understand the cause of it. Even when you talk about people who seem to attract amazing people in their life and they just say, they're lucky. It's not luck. They have a different frequency about them. They operate in a different way, and naturally that attracts people of that caliber to them. But you may not see that on the surface. You may not recognize that is a reason why people have certain people in their life, that they just have a different frequency. They have a different state of consciousness. But anyways, I'm going off track. Beginner's luck. Before we go further into this video, we need to break down beginner's luck. And essentially, beginner's luck is a phenomenon where people who just started something perform better than people who are supposed to be far better than them. People who are putting more time into that craft than them. And the immediate place where you see this is video games. Have you ever had a time where you're playing, it's always this fighting game with someone, and they're just mashing the buttons like this, and they're beating you, and you know all the combos, you know the best way to use each character, how to get the highest output, the angles to hit so that you can knock the person out, and they're just going like they're beating you, and you just say, it's beginner's luck, but they beat you like 5 times in a row, but you just say beginner's luck. We see this in sports. People pick up golf for the first time, and for some reason, everything that the swing may not look good, but they're hitting the ball nicely. It's going in the fairway, it's going straight. Also, we see this in business. People start off in business. What I've noticed when it comes to business, in my life, in other people's lives that I've observed, is that people tend to start off better than, let's say, 3 months after. Even content creation. When I started posting content, I had no idea of the limitations, of the expectations, of the industry norms that were out there. I had no conception of whether it was going to be hard or not. So I found that I had a major growth content-wise because I had no conception. There was nothing in my mind. So I was essentially a beginner. You will look at it. Let's say the first time you started posting content, you will probably grow a bit faster than you're growing perhaps even now. The first time you started business, you look back and like, wow, why did anyone trust in me? Why did anyone buy my products? But it's because you have beginner's luck. But I'm going to break it down in a way in which you understand why exactly this happens. But anyways, what tends to happen is after this newfound success, this beginning success where you jump into something, you're like, damn, this is easy. You still recognize that things can get better. But on top of that, a person, whoever you're with, maybe it's your friend that you're playing the video game against, maybe it's the person you're playing golf with, maybe it's you going onto TV or YouTube and watching videos on how to get better. They will tell you that it's just beginner's luck. And without saying these words, things are going to things are going to get worse. They inform you that things are going to get worse. And unfortunately for you, they do tend to get worse. However, I want to note something before I go into the deep dive, that the greats in any realm don't actually experience beginner's luck. See, to them, beginner's luck isn't luck, but it's their base state. You look at these prodigies that come onto the scene. You look at, I watched Man United. There was Adnan Januzaj about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And he jumped onto the scene and you're like, damn, this person is going to be one of the greats. But what tends to happen is they will have these breakout seasons where they're performing amazingly, and then for some reason things just drop off, right? But that it doesn't happen with the greats. See, Michael Jordan, he started his basketball career amazingly, and he just kept on getting better and better and better. You see the same thing with Lionel Messi. He started amazingly. People were like, damn, and he kept on getting better and better and better. Same thing with Ronaldo. All the people who were the greatest in their field experienced beginner's luck, but for their whole career. It is their base state. And by the end of this video, you're going to know how to do it too. But anyways, before I break down beginner's luck, I need to break down self 1 and self 2. You may currently view yourself as one individual person, but the truth is that there are two sides of you. There are two people who are speaking in your mind. For a lot of people, there's 1,000, but don't even get me started on that. But anyway, we're gonna think of these two people as self 1 and self 2. See, self 1 is your conscious, analytical, judgmental side. It is a part of you that creates the narratives in your life. It decides which goals to strive after and how you want to do them. It pinpoints potential areas of growth. It tells you what is wrong. It's just the part of you that talks. It's the part of you that gives you verbal feedback on anything you're doing. It tells you that, oh, this is possible, this is impossible. You shouldn't do it like this. The most important thing I want to note here is that it creates the narratives in your life. And something that I haven't written is it chooses the perception. That's where your perception comes from, your self 1. Because we all have a way of naturally viewing the world. And we develop that through self 1 just talking to us, feeding in information, feeding in different expectations, experiences, and eventually that became the lens through which we perceive the world. And of course you can change it, but that's what I want you to know about self 1. Self 2 is the doer and the beer. Doesn't speak or think. It just accepts what self 1 has said and executes on it. But what's important about self 2 is that it works best when you give it an end goal and absolutely nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. See, I believe that self 2 is the most divine part of you, and that's actually the image of God that is within you, the Spirit of God. When the Bible says that the Spirit of God is within you, I believe that it's talking about the self 2. See, self 2, it produces the best things that man could ever think of making and more. All of the things that we see, the Sistine Chapel, all these beautiful works of art are created by Self 2. All the best books that have been written were written by Self 2. All the sports players that live on for generations, the greats, Michael Jordan, Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, all these people built their careers off of relying on Self 2. See, when someone is in their flow state, their Self 1 is essentially off. And you will know this if you've been in flow state, that you don't really have much of a dialogue in your head. And at most, it's just observation of, that probably wasn't the best thing for me to do. That was amazing. But there's no scrutiny in this dialogue, like, damn, you didn't twist your wrist and you didn't do X, Y, and Z and put it at an angle of 47 degrees. It's just observation. When Self 1 is off, you literally just let Self 2 get stuff done. And this was important because I'm going to explain the concepts of Self. It wasn't important because of that, but I'll explain the concepts of Self 1 and Self 2 more. I'll explain the concepts of Self 1 and 2 in more depth in another video, but all you need to remember now is that when Self 1 is quiet and non-judgmental, Self 2 operates at its best. Remember that. Please. Remember that, huh? Remember. Anyways. Now, why is beginner's luck so common? See, at the beginning of anything, you're a beginner. So you have absolutely no idea what you're getting yourself into. You have no idea of the correct methods and techniques. You have no idea of the industry norms, no idea of the collective difficulties, no idea of what is expected and how quickly it can be expected. Your brain is quite literally just blank. All you have is an idea of the outcome that you would like to achieve. So, in a sense, your Self 1 has absolutely nothing to tell Self 2 besides the result that it wants. So now when it's time for Self 2 to operate, Self 1 is quiet, thus giving Self 2 its best chance to excel. Why? Because Self 2 works best when you give it an end goal and nothing else. When you're a beginner, the only thing you have is an end goal. You don't have a technique. You don't have the best method to scripting videos. You just have, damn, I want to make a good video. Damn, I want to get a few followers on Instagram. Damn, I want to hit this golf ball straight. Yo, the calluses on my hand are crazy. They're going crazy. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, you can't really see it. Because I have thick skin. I have thick, soft skin, so I tend not to get calluses. But they're getting crazy. Absolutely crazy. But let me lock in. Let me lock in. And anyways, when a beginner does beginner things, what typically happens is the beginner will have wonderful results, which will then reel them in even more. Because when you get wonderful results, you start thinking, damn, I can do even better. You want to become better. You want to go to the next level. Because though as a beginner you are getting amazing results, you're not a pro. Like, you're not going to have pro level beginner's luck. Oh, wow. There's something that is buzzing in here, and I know that is going to annoy me. We're about to kill it. We got it handled. I got it handled. Anyways, as I was saying, when you're a beginner, you know that you're not pro level. You know that you're not flipping Lionel Messi. You're just playing much better than the people around you who have been playing for longer than you. So what typically happens is you're like, damn, let me get better. So now you'll start to seek to learn more, whether it's from a friend that you know of that's much better than you, or from some random person online, normally in the form of a guru or the head of an industry space, or just someone that you actually like, right? Someone that you like. And it doesn't even have to be the most informative person. It can just be whoever you choose to learn from. You choose to learn from them. Now, this person, hopefully, would have achieved far more than you have, or the person with the beginner's luck has in that realm. So already subconsciously they'll put them on a pedestal, taking what they say as an immediate truth. Have you ever listened to someone or talked to someone who is just far better than you in business? Your brain goes quiet. You're like, everything they say, you just take it in word for word. Like, oh, okay, yeah. See, now this thing that we do of taking things in word for word is now a double-edged sword, because your teacher can instill in you the belief that progress is easy, that it's easy to become great, that it's like an open goal. You just have to try and you are going to get it, right? Or they can share all the hardships. They can share all of their limiting beliefs. They can share things such as, I was in the trenches for 5 years. It takes time to grow your business. For 2 years, you're going to be starving and nothing is going to happen. They'll tell you that it's not easy and it's going to require a lot of work. Whatever it may be. See, the most common thing that I've seen happening with people is they will get into, I've seen it with trading exactly. So I have this one client, he started trading and he progressed much quicker than everyone else. And the funny thing about this person is he doesn't believe he's the most intelligent person, and people didn't perceive him that way because of how he performed in school. But he developed far faster than anyone else had. He started trading and he was funded after 3 months of learning trading. Funded, like passed it perfectly, doing everything perfectly. And for reasons that I will not say here, he didn't pass the first, or he didn't get a payout that first time he blew that account. And through that, he started learning more and more and more. And he found his favorite trading mentor that he had been learning from. And that trading, I also started watching him to just see what was going on, who he was learning from. And he said, I remember this video distinctly. He was just telling his viewers, guys, it's going to be hard. It's not going to take a few months. It's going to take a few years for you to be profitable, for you to finally understand the markets. So if you're coming here thinking it's going to be easy, go away, because it's not going to be easy. And fair enough, that is seemingly good advice on surface level, because you don't want people who think that it's going to be a walk in the park. You want to give people a realistic perception of what it's going to take. You don't want people who come here thinking, oh, light work, right? But what that happens is because that person is a guru. So my client obviously would take what they say word for word and not assess it, but take it in immediately as a truth. So what happened is they internally accepted the idea that it was going to take years for them to be profitable. They accepted the idea that it was meant to be hard. They accepted the idea that it wasn't going to be easy, right? And now, when you could clearly see that the process was easy, they made it hard for themselves. And the way they made it hard for themselves was by self-sabotaging. So over-trading, revenge trading when they consciously know that this is going against my strategy. All these things look like discipline issues, but their state of consciousness issues. They stem from the state of consciousness that one has not being in alignment with the thing that they want to have. So they self-sabotage, and it looks as if, oh, they're shooting themselves in the foot. When in actuality, they aren't even shooting themselves in their foot. They're achieving the exact result that their state of consciousness wants. And your state of consciousness resides in your subconscious mind. So you're not always going to be aware of this subconscious desire. But for you to be aware of the subconscious desire in all situations, it can best be distilled to the desire to stay the same, because that's what is safe for it. That's what it's currently going through. It may not be the most comfortable thing, but it's safe. And it requires the least amount of energy. But anyways, when you go online and you hear all these things, or from the person who is amazing at it, I was in the mud for 5 years. It takes time to grow. It's not easy, and it's going to require a lot of work. You need to recognize that the only truths in your reality are the ones that you have subconsciously accepted as true. So these new ideas become truths in your mind. And of course, since your mind, your inner world, is one with your reality, the outer worlds, they become true in your reality. Yeah? So You see, this most common. I love talking about relationships because I feel like that is the area in which everyone, regardless of what you believe, can see the true effect of your beliefs manifesting in your life. See, people go outside, they're like, men are trash. It's like, calm. A normal person will look at them and be like, oh, 8 billion niggas are trash. Like, all men are trash. Okay. And the funny thing is, for that person, if you honestly looked at their dating history, all men are trash. Quite literally. Oh, it's back inside. Ha! Hopefully it's not gonna come back. But where the what's the word? I'll say where the hope or the cognitive dissonance that people experience is, if you look outside, you'll see niggas that aren't trash. You'll see niggas that are treating their women absolutely lovely. In fact, that person, the same woman that's saying all men are trash, probably has a sister who's in the best relationship that she could ever dream of. But because she believes that all men are trash, she continues to subconsciously manifest that in a reality. See, our beliefs, the things that we believe to be true about the world, we don't believe them to be true because we've experienced them, but it's because we have created them. Or rather, the things that we see as true in the world, they aren't true because they are true, but they are true because we have subconsciously accepted them as true by believing in them, by having faith in them. Once you have conviction in something, you subconsciously accept as true. So if you have conviction in the idea that it's hard for you to succeed, you make it true in your reality that it will be hard for you to succeed. See, when you look at all the greats in anything, they had conviction in the idea that they were great. And because they had conviction in that idea, it became a truth in their reality. But anyways, in the form of beginner's luck, they will be fed these limiting beliefs or these parameters. So the things that they were fed become truths in their mind. They become truths in their reality thereafter. But even if you aren't fed any forms of limiting beliefs, so this one is the example where your teacher can instill in you the belief that progress is easy, right? Even if you're shown all the correct techniques, all the best ways to do something, and they just tell you like, dude, you're amazing, like you've got it, it's going to be easy, it's going to be a walk in the park so long as you follow the steps I'm doing. You would have been shown correct techniques, correct ways of doing things, right? But now, if you don't have those, if you don't perform in those ways, if you aren't aware, you will subconsciously develop the belief that you don't have what it takes to succeed. Because look, they may tell you that it's easy. They may tell you that you can do it. But through their years of expertise, they're just showing you the best way that they know how to do it. Someone may be showing you the best technique, the best way to hold the golf club, and the best way to swing. Like they'll say, oh, you get to the top, you cock your wrist so that it's parallel to the ground, and then now when you come back, you just like whip it like that, right? They're telling you that because it's the best thing that they've found, and they genuinely want you to help. But your subconscious mind is like, oh, damn, this is the best thing to do. We don't know how to do that yet. Therefore, we can't succeed. So, though you will never say it consciously, though you will never recognize it, you set yourself up for failure. Why? Because you don't think you have enough to succeed. And even this in and of itself is just a low level of understanding or even just awareness. Because when it comes to techniques, methods, just look around. You notice that the most successful people, aren't doing things in the correct way. The most successful footballer, look at Mohamed Salah. For any of you who watch football, I can guarantee you that there are 50 in the Premier League. There are 50 footballers who are technically better than Mohamed Salah. At least 50 in the Premier League today. Not even in the Premier League all time. In the Premier League today, there are 50 footballers that I genuinely wholeheartedly believe are more technically gifted and talented. They have better techniques than Mohamed Salah, but he is just the best player. He is one of the best Premier League players of all time. But if you watch him play, it doesn't look pretty all of the time. But it's because whether it's conscious or unconscious, he would have released the idea of how things are meant to be done, how things are meant to look, the correct technique. The correct technique is one that works and works for you and doesn't injure your body. But anyways, so now because of this new influx of information that people get when they go into something, when they learn from a guru after that beginner's luck stage, their self one now is ammo. It now knows the correct technique. It now knows how things should be. It now knows what they can expect. And it now knows how difficult things are going to be. So now their self one begins to program self two, not only with the intended results that they have, like, oh, I want to get better, but with so much more static, with so much more information. So it'll be like, hit the ball. In the beginning, it was just hit the ball straight. Now it's hit the ball straight. But make sure your wrist is firm and square because if you don't, you're going to slice it. See, now your self one is aware of not only what you want, but it's actually more aware of what could go wrong if you don't do what you want. Now, isn't it funny that when you start I'm recording a video, my nigga. Being called recording a video, my nigga. Anyways, isn't it funny that when you start something new, you are often better in your first week than you are after about 3 weeks? That's beginner's luck. It's because after about 3 weeks, you've learned something new, you've gone to a guru, you've seeked new information, so you've also gotten new parameters. But the downside of that is you've gotten new limitations. Now, those limitations start weighing you down. So now, when these limitations start weighing you down, that you've acquired from the person that you learned from, or you've acquired from your friend who simply could have told you it's beginner's luck. Sometimes you don't even go and acquire any forms of limiting beliefs. You just have your friend telling you it's beginner's luck. You're going to get worse. You're going to get worse. And as much as you don't want to believe them, you subconsciously accept that, damn, I'm going to get worse. And you get worse. But anyways, now when you don't do as well as you were doing before, you think back to what your teacher told you, to what your friend told you. Nah, it's beginner's luck. It's going to get hard. You're going to struggle for a year. It will take you time to grow your social media account. You'll think back to all those things and you're like, damn, they were right. They were right. See, and now you have evidence to back those things that you heard. So you think, yeah, they must be true. But the truth is they're not. You just accepted them as true. So they had no option but to manifest themselves in your life. Because you and your reality are one. Your inner world creates your outer world. See, a lot of the times people say, oh, what is right and wrong? In the realms of your life, what is true in your reality is simply what you subconsciously accepted. Because going back to that example of men are trash, or all women are evil, fair enough, we can say that consciously you know that all women aren't evil. Consciously you know that all men aren't trash. But what truly matters to you and I isn't the existence of something that is contrary to what we believe and what we experience, but it's what we actually experience. Like, who cares if money is easy, if it's easy for someone to make money, but it's extremely hard for me? Who cares? I'm only going to think about, damn, it's hard to make money because that's what I'm experiencing day to day. So there's no truths in reality. It's just what you have subconsciously accepted as true. So to break this down, essentially what beginner's luck is, and I'm going to do this without even looking at the notes. These notes came out of my mind, so I could make this whole video without the notes, but I figured it's better I make the video with the notes. But anyways, to essentially break down what beginner's luck is in a short way I'm going to re-explain the process of beginner's luck. So starting with the process, what typically happens is a beginner, of course, they haven't done anything, they start something, and they do much better than people who have been doing it for a longer period of time than them. But after some time, those results, they fade and they start doing what is expected, right? And that phenomenon of them performing amazingly at the beginning is now called beginner's luck, because now they can't emulate it again. Therefore, luck being something that you can't manufacture. However, what is happening beneath the surface is the reason why a beginner performs with luck. They perform much better than they would in the beginning is because their mind has no parameters. Their mind has no limitations. Their mind has no expectations. Their mind has no knowledge of how things should be done. All the mind knows is, damn, we're gonna get this result. Now, because the mind doesn't know any parameters, any limitations, any methods, the correct technique, it is, in a way, unweighted. Because all the opinions, all those beliefs, the negative ones, they weigh you down. Now, in this state where it's unweighted, Self 1 has absolutely nothing to say to Self 2, the divine part of you. Now, when Self 1 has nothing to say to Self 2, Self 2 can operate perfectly and achieve the result. It may not be the way you want it to be achieved, but it will be achieved and it will be quite effortless. So that's what happens in the beginning. But what tends to happen is people, once they have their phase of beginner's luck, it's either they've been told that you have beginner's luck, things are going to get worse, and they accept that idea, or they learn from people in the industry and they learn about the standards, the industry norms, the expectations, the beliefs, and through those they download limitations. And now, because they've downloaded limitations, that is what their state of consciousness is made out of. Your state of consciousness creates your reality. Therefore, after that stint of beginner's luck, you'll find that they'll naturally start to drop off in performance. And it's not because it was beginner's luck, but it's because now their state of consciousness is now aware of things that could go bad, what is to be expected, therefore what they expect. Expectation is faith. Faith builds mountains, or faith can move mountains, but it also builds mountains. So in the case of someone who had beginner's luck, faith is no longer moving mountains, but is building mountains. Mountains that they have to overcome to achieve the thing they want to achieve. It's going to take 1 year. You're going to have to grind, and it's going to look like it's not working at first. You're going to lose a lot of money. All these things. And because of that, their reality starts matching their state of consciousness. That's beginner's luck. That's beginner's luck explained. Now, a few of you may be catching on to the correct thing to do if you want to have beginner's luck for a long time. But anyways, let me get into it. How to maintain that state of beginner's luck. See, you heard me saying it earlier in the video that the only difference between the greats and the people who aren't great is that they have this state of beginner's luck their whole career. Like that rate of improvement, that rate of performance that people have naturally at the beginning, they keep it. And they add on to it with the new knowledge, the new techniques, the new information. They just go, right? To maintain, first, you must find the fundamental cause of beginner's luck. And to sum it, it's a mind with no conceptions of the standard expectations and beliefs. See, the truth is, if you're watching my content, deep down, you desire to be an outlier. You desire to get better results than everyone else. And you may not tell other people that, but you and I both know. So, since outer worlds and inner worlds are one, you can't possibly desire to be an outlier externally, but be average internally. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And what I mean by this is you can't expect to improve at an exponential rate while holding industry norms, beliefs, and expectations. Because the industry norms, beliefs, and expectations are the average sum of the industry. They are the average sum of the beliefs of everyone in the industry. They are the average of the sum of the expectations of the people in the industry. So you can't expect an extraordinary life while holding average beliefs, average expectations. See, for you to have long-lasting beginner's luck, you must either have no expectations, or what's far easier than having no expectations is to create your own beliefs, your own expectations, to decide what is normal for you. Because at the end of the day, your life is going to be a culmination of what is normal for you. The reason why Drake gets the views that he gets, he's number one in every album, is because it's normal for him. If you ask him, are you surprised? He'd be like, no. It's not surprised at all. Whatever way your life is going right now, I can guarantee that it is normal for you. See, the greats are great because greatness is normal for them. You are the way that you are because the way that you are is normal for you. To have beginners, long-lasting beginners, like, you have to have no regard for limitations, no regard for standard expectations, the industry norms, what can be expected. You must believe and have conviction. You must believe and have conviction in whatever it is you want to achieve. Whatever it is. If you want to make 10K after 6 months of doing business, and people say that, oh, in this field it takes 2 years, you have to have belief and absolute conviction that you can achieve that it is possible for you. Because when you have absolute conviction in something, it now becomes an expectation. And like I've said earlier in this video, conviction is faith. See, people think the faith, look at the Bible, it says faith can move mountains. Jesus said that all things are possible to one who believes. People think that faith is trusting that things are going to be okay. I think they're going to be okay. I think God is going to do it. I'm just going to leave it to him. Like, he's got it. No. Faith is knowing. Faith, when you look at the etymology of the word, it is closer to conviction, to knowing. Like this light here. I don't have faith that it's going to switch off. I just know it's going to switch off. Then I know it's going to switch on. That's conviction. That's knowing. When the Bible talks about having faith, it talks about knowing. So you need to get to a point where you know that whatever it is you want, you can and you're going to achieve it. See, in a way, right, having faith in God, having faith in the power that you have within you, because the Spirit of God is within you, there is a God within. In a way, having faith in God is like long-lasting beginner's luck. Because though you may be aware of all the obstacles, you're also aware of the one that's greater than all the obstacles. You're aware that God transcends anything you can think of. So, because you believe, you have conviction in the one that transcends everything, you have no more limitations. See, in Matthew 19 verse 26, Jesus said, with man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. And not only this, it is not enough to reject industry norms. You must always be conscious and pay attention to those who don't conform to the collective expectation. You need to pay attention to the greats, right? Michael Jordan. LeBron James is a god, but Michael Jordan is just more aesthetic. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he's the GOAT for real. But to the Michael Jordans, to the person in your industry who just entered and they started making $10,000 a month in 2 weeks, like something crazy like that, you need to pay attention to those. See, by doing this, you program your mind to believe that that level of achievement is normal because it's what you're seeing, it's what you're paying attention to. Now, if you look to the greats, the Michael Jordans, the Messis, when it came to their progression and their skill, they always seem to have beginner's luck. You see players burst onto the scene and tear it up, and they start slowing down, and they become like everyone else. The difference is the greats maintained that initial state. They didn't accept how hard things were meant to be, how long it would take. They were just present with their own task. Now, I want you to focus on people like that, the people who always have beginner's luck. And you'll find that you'll soon be someone who gets crazy results. Now, the tools that you can use to do these things in each situation, the first one is visualization. Essentially, the way in which I teach my clients to visualize is to create a short scene that implies the unfoldment of their desired reality. So what it would typically be is someone that they love congratulating them for getting that thing. And what this does is if you feel an emotional charge, it programs your subconscious mind, because emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. And the reason why it programs your subconscious mind is because it can't tell the difference between a real and imagined experience. Now, once your subconscious mind believes that it's experienced it, because your subconscious mind creates your reality, it will be created in your reality. Because you have it subconsciously, you will have it without, in the world of without, in reality, physically. See, in the Bible it says, to those who have, more will be given, and to those who don't have, what they do have will be taken away. See, when you have that success subconsciously, when you believe that it's possible, and not only that it's possible, but that you are going to achieve it subconsciously, it shows itself in your reality. At the end of the day, the outer world is just a reflection of the inner world. Therefore, whatever you have subconsciously accepted as true, you will experience exactly that. And that is why visualization is so important. And the way in which I'd want you to use this is, let's say you get to a block, someone instills a belief that's terrible for you. It's going to take 5 years. Just visualize you succeeding. Babe, I didn't think you were going to make 10K that quickly. Include that in the visualization. Someone saying that quickly, because them saying that quickly implies that you did it faster than everyone else, faster than they expected. But with all that being said, beginner's luck isn't luck. It's a state that you can enter. And with all this, I've equipped you on how to have a long-lasting state of beginner's luck.